Hi, I've been asked by a local sailing club if I would make some prizes. And one of the things they've asked me to make are some wine bottle coasters, which are these. But they want them with a tag in the middle showing who won what and when they won it and what they won it for. So rather than just making one-offs, I thought it'd be interesting to take you along with me to see what it's like when you're making half a dozen, effectively of what are the same things, even though each individual tag has a slightly different engraving on it. So here we go, let's get into it. Right, I've selected some timber. What I'm going to do is use my sample piece just to draw around some of this rough cut timber. And I notice there's a little bit of a crack there, so I'm going to avoid that. And there's a little bit of one there. So we'll avoid them. And we'll go round there. And around there. There we go, that's all we need. I'm going to go over to the bandsaw, cut that out, and then we'll take it from there. That's rocking a little bit. Okay, I've got them all round now, but I've actually done a spare one just in case something goes wrong. They're not exactly round, but I need to find roughly where the centre point is. I've left myself quite a bit of waste on these, so I'm okay from that point of view. But what I'm going to do is use the centre finder. I'll just mark it with a felt tip pen. This will just give me a rough idea of where centre is. If I get 3 or 4 of these lines all in the same place, like that, then I know I'm pretty close. I can drill a hole there, and then I'm going to put it on a worm screw. I'll do that with each one of them, and then I'll come back to you. Okay, I've got them all marked now. Before I drill any holes, I'm just going to put a little mark on them, because I don't want them to go too deep. And if you look at the original one, it's basically the screw thread. So I want that a similar depth to that. I'm going to go a little bit less actually. So I'll put a piece of tape on my drill. That's how deep I want to drill each one of these. And then simply just a case of, that's typical, the battery's going flat on this. Okay, new battery, try again. There we go, that's that one done. And I'll work my way through the rest of them. And the last one. There we go. Okay, so we're now ready to go over to the lathe, and then we'll use this to screw them all on with. Okay. Right, there's the chuck, and into the chuck will go the worm screw, like so. Just tighten that up, nice and tight. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little disc onto the thread. So there's only about 15 mil showing, something like that. And then we can screw the timber onto there. Okay, I'm just taking a light skim, because all I'm concerned about at the moment is getting the piece of timber into the round. I'll take several light passes, and I'm doing it as a voiceover because I'm actually wearing a dust mask and face shield. And here I'm just checking to see if it is round. If it wasn't round, the chisel would have bounced up and down, but it didn't. It ran smooth, so I didn't even need to go any further than that. And I've speeded things up here just to keep it interesting. All I'm doing is flattening off the base. I'm just after a decent cut, and I checked it for level, because ideally I want a very slight hollow so that the coaster will sit on its outer rim and not on the centre of the coaster and rock about. Sorry, I'm muttering to myself there. Okay, now when I'm marking it for the actual diameter that I need, and I'm only using the tip of the left hand side of the marking gauge, or dividers I should say. And now back onto the actual outside diameter to bring it to the correct size. And I'm letting the bevel of the chisel run along the wood as I'm taking a number of passes, taking off just a few millimeters at a time, so we get it to the final width that I need. Just having a quick check there. I'm now going to mark the bottom of the coaster, again just using the left hand tip of the dividers. Now you can quite clearly see the line I've left. I'm using a square end scraper now, just adjusting the rest. A square end scraper just to take down the timber. I only need 2 to 3 millimeters of depth here, and the reason for creating this will become more obvious later on. This is a very important part of creating these. Just want to get it nice and even across the base. I'm now using a skew chisel just to tidy up that inner corner. I want it to be a little bit of a dovetail, but only very slight. And then back to the square end scraper, and I'm now going to create a sort of a little button shape, just to add some decorative detail to the base and disguise what that actual rebate's for. Just cleaning it up a little bit, just to make the detail a little bit sharper. And tidying up that edge. We want to check that it will sit on the rim, so that when there's a wine bottle stud in it, it will be nice and steady. And that looks pretty good. So we can pretty much sand that one, except I've just noticed that there's a void there. That's the only problem with working with elm. You never know what you're going to find. So I think I'm going to have to take this one off, fill that, before I can actually do any sanding. So I'll probably just move on to the next one, do that, and basically I'll do this much on each one, and then I'll come back and do the next stage. That way, if there is more voids to be filled, I can do that in one session and then screw them back on. Okay, we're back onto the lathe, obviously. Again, I've got my dust mask on, etc., so I'm just doing a voiceover. But I've started with a 120 grit, and There is an extractor on as well, although it's not picking up as much dust as it should. And I'm going to work my way up through the grits to 320. I think making sure I sand into the detail as well, but still leave it nice and crisp. And now to come to the finish. I'm using a wax finish here, and it literally is just a block of beeswax. And the friction from the wood spinning is enough to work it into the grain. So I'm just making sure it's there in all the various bits and pieces, and the nooks and crannies. And then I'm going to take a soft cloth. And can you see how it's starting to burnish and polish as I work my way along? And that's literally just the heat being caused by the friction. And I'll just work my way right across the piece. Be very careful though when you're holding the cloth, that you only hold it between your fingers. Don't wrap it round your fingers, so that if it does snatch or catch on anything, it will only pull it out of your hand. It won't pull your hand into the machine. I'm just making sure that there's no build-up of wax. I want the wax to go right into the timber. That feels absolutely beautiful now. With a nice, smooth, glassy finish to it. We'll leave that, we'll move on to the next one, and we'll keep going. I'm just setting the depth here because this timber's actually a bit thicker than I need. So I'll put a little mark, and then I'm going to hold the pencil on that mark and just start the lathe going. And now I'm just double checking that I've marked that correctly. And now I'm just bringing the piece down to the correct size. And as you can see, this wood is turning absolutely beautifully. A nice sharp bowl gouge, just taking my time, and I'll let the shavings come off. And ensuring that the bevel is running or rubbing on the piece. I'm just marking now the internal diameter for the piece, because now we've got to hollow it. And we need to hollow it out about an inch, about 25 millimeters. What you can see there is the drill hole from when we first screwed the piece onto the lathe chuck. Just steadily working my way down, but not going too close to the edge at this stage. I'm more interested in getting the depth correct first. I'm just using two rulers to check the depth, one across the piece and one into the actual hollow. And I've still got quite a way to go. And I have speeded this up, I don't turn as quickly as this. I'm now getting much closer to the edge as you'll notice. And we're pretty close to the depth as well. And again, I'm just double checking that I haven't gone too far. Now I need to just tidy up the sides, get into that bottom corner. And now in with the square end scraper again, just to get that a nice flat bottom to this, because a bottle has got to sit into this. Yep, the depth looks good now. And now I'm just using a fine bowl gouge. I think it's a 3/8 I've got in my hand. Just to put the final detail onto it. I'm being very careful here that I don't want to get any tear out. I want to get a really clean, crisp cut on that top edge. I'm just rounding that inner corner. And now I'm going to shear scrape the inside of the bowl to get a nice clean finish so that we don't have to do too much sanding. Now I'm just hollowing out that center section, because this is where the gold colored tags are going to sit. And it's very important that I only get this about 2 millimeters deep, but it needs to be nice and flat. Don't want any bumps, otherwise the disc won't sit in there properly. Just a quick test fit, it's not quite right yet. Go back in. I'm using the tip of the skew chisel just to clean up that inside corner there. As you can see, it's only a fraction that needed to come off. And there you go. Perfect fit. So if you've enjoyed this, please give me a like, leave a comment. Okay, so we've now got a perfect fit. We just need to sand the inside, and then that's ready for some wax as well. And then we'll be on to gluing these into position. Only another 5 more to go. And of course we're back to sanding again. And if you could, it'd be great if you could subscribe as well. That really helps the channel. Right. There's a little line detail that needs to go on the outside. I'm using the tip of the skew to create a little V groove, and then using a wire, the friction sort of burns it. Obviously don't overdo it if you're going to try that. And then back to the wax. You need to wax the rim and wax the inside now, but only up to that lip. I don't want to wax the very centre, otherwise when I come to put the metal tag in, the glue won't stick to the base. And again, back with the cloth and start to melt that wax and force it into the wood itself. And you can see how it changes the tone of the timber as well. And it is just pure beeswax that I'm using here. It's coming up to a really smooth, silky finish that feels really nice in the hand. Okay, that's one finished, and just another 5 to go. I'm just going to scuff the back of it, just so that the adhesive's got something to stick to. A bead of hot melt glue into there, a bit in the centre, and then pop the disc in. Quick buff up, and there we go. They're all done now, ready for boxing up. Right, we've got them all together now. They're all clean, polished. The tags are in. If you've enjoyed this so far, please give us a like, leave a comment, and if you could subscribe, that would really help the channel grow, and I would appreciate that. But first of all, in terms of actually presenting these, we need to have something a bit more than just handing over the individual items. So I thought it'd be a good idea to actually get some little presentation boxes. And what I'm going to do is I've planed some timber, just nice, clean, it's just pine basically. I'm going to put that into the box, like so. Put the gift into there. And then just fold this up. And then I'm going to tie it with a piece of very rustic looking string. I've got to remember which way around this goes. It goes from the top to the bottom. We cross over. And then we go back to the top again. There we go. I'll thread one of them under that way. One of them under the opposite way. Oops. And then a single knot, and then a bow. And I think that looks a lot better than just handing them over as that. So I'll just do the rest of them, but I will remember, of course, to add some labels, because each of these little tags is completely different, and I don't want them to have to actually unwrap them all to find out who's got what, because that wouldn't really work, would it? Anyway, if you've enjoyed that, thanks very much for watching. Hope to see you soon. Bye now.